Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to what appears to be our last panel discussion at the Remote Workforce Summit organized by College Times today and yesterday. So for our last panel discussion here at RWS 2021, we of course want to address a topic that keeps the C-suites awake: how to achieve a successful remote workforce strategy. How can you empower the talent acquisition process? How can you support the growth? How can you keep non-productive planning out of the picture, and so much more? So without further ado, I would like to invite for this very interesting panel discussion, Mr. Shumon Zaman, the Chief Information and Digital Officer of Ali & Sons Holding, Dr. Tanaya Mishra, the Global CHRO from SR, Ms. Rachel Al-Mugairi, the Director of Culture and Performance from InsuranceMarket.ae, Ms. Sara Al-Marzuki, the Executive Director, Human Capital of Higher Colleges of Technology. So welcome each and everyone at the panel discussion, what keeps the C-suites awake. So I hope to have a fabulous session. My first, does anyone want to give a quick introduction about yourself? Sarah, would you like to just give us a one-line introduction about yourself, please?
My name is Sarah. I'm working at HCT since 2019. I'm working as the Executive Director, Human Capital. It's my pleasure to be part of this panel and participating in this summit actually, and giving my experience and the opportunity that HCT is implementing in regard of the workforce and hybrid modeling.
Thank you, Ms. Sarah. Dr. Tanaya, would you like to give us a quick introduction about yourself?
Hello everybody. Hello panel members. Hello the audience. It's absolute delight to be here at the College Times. COVID indeed has, opened our eyes to the world, and what we see today is very different, and it's going to be even more different, and really speed is the name of the game. VUCA is something which is reality now. We always thought it was there. And from SR and all of us here, a very warm welcome, and I do hope you enjoy the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tanaya. Mr. Shumon, would you like to give us a quick introduction about yourself and what do you expect from this panel, please?
Sure. My name is Shumon Zaman from Cambridge, UK. Pretty much, I expect the session to hopefully focus on some of the challenges that we're facing now with the pandemic. And, with my fellow panelists, understand some of the strategies that are in place and how we're going to overcome this in the long term, and what are the major changes that are going to happen, and the shift to, what the future holds for remote working and hybrid working and stuff like that. So very honored to be amongst four ladies, professionals. I expect to learn a lot from you guys as well.
Thank you, Mr. Shumon. Over to you, Ms. Rachel.
Hi, good morning, everybody, and thank you for inviting me to be part of this forum. What I'd like to see from the panel, and what I'm hoping to gain myself, shared learning about all the great things that have been happening over this past very challenging period. I think it shows the true entrepreneurial spirit and the active adaptability that exists in the human race, that we've still continued to operate at very high level, very uncertain times. And what I'm looking to get from this session is to hear from all of the esteemed panel members, as well as the people attending today, as to how they've approached these very unprecedented challenges we face. Looking forward.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. My first question is, of course, a follow-up on what the introduction was about. All the introductions spoke about the pandemic and how everyone is coping up. What I wanted to understand is, I would direct this question to Mr. Shumon, is what are the practices that organizations like yourself are implementing to support a hybrid workforce?
I think, I think it was in March last year, we woke up and we found that the world has completely changed. And, no matter how much planning and simulations you could do, you could never have planned for this. And as Rachel has just alluded, we as human beings, God has given us great strength and courage to always find a way on challenges. And I'm happy to be part of that humanity that's helped to change the way we work. And for our organization, it was an immediate realization that if we wanted to survive, then we have to adapt very quickly. We have to be much more agile. And we have to start putting in procedures and policies in place that allow this new way of working, the new reality or the new norm that we call it. Prior to this, remote working was a nice to have. But I think fundamentally, and I think Ms. Sarah can maybe add a bit more depth to this, but it's all about trust. Mm-hmm. Do you trust people to get the job done, right? And prior to this, it's all about, oh my God, someone working from home, they're probably sleeping, not working, So with us, we had no choice but to remotely work. And we moved a lot of the stuff to the cloud to make things easy. But also, this new way of working required us to adjust ourselves and our thought process in how we look at people, how we interact with people. I mean, remote working is fine, but it's not for everyone, we found. Some people like the flexibility, others hate it, because you got to understand now, home has become an office, it's become a playground, it's become everything for you. And it's sometimes not possible to differentiate between all the various hats that you need to wear at home. But, I think the human touch is something that we all crave for now, having worked remotely. And one of the ways we've tried to overcome that is to have, like, every morning have a huddle where we all sign up and say, good morning, everyone, have a nice cup of coffee and just say, look, what are we planning for today? What are we going to achieve today? And then the following morning review, did we achieve it? If anyone needs assistance. So having that interaction is so key. The coffee talk in the morning is essential to ensure that people don't feel lonely. They don't feel that they're disconnected from the world, that we are still here. Which just means that, the love is getting stronger, but, we will see you back in the office. Just focus and, do whatever you need to do. So that's really how we've tried to manage it. It's a merging of technology as well as human interaction, and all the soft stuff that we took for granted now has come to the fore.
Thank you, Shimon. Thank you very much. I personally agree to abide by the coffee mornings every day. What do you think, Ms. Tara, are some of the practices that your organization has implemented to support a hybrid workforce, make the employees
Exactly, to be honest with you, and as Shimon said, during the pandemic and working in this type of, as a new normal of working and doing our staff remotely from inside organization or outside organization, this is part of the trust. It gives us the trust on ourselves and our employees that we can do our job in a best way. In my humble opinion, the definition of the hybrid workforce is a combination between work remotely and working from offices. At HCT, our strategy was focusing on people because, as we know, the people are the driven for our organization and the most important assets. So we were concentrating in two dimensions: employee engagement and work-life balance. Why it's important? Because it's very challenging to have a borderline between office time and family time. This strategy that we at HCT implemented, we were concentrating on three catalysts. One of them, the innovation at work, the agility, and preemptiveness. Actually, those three catalysts were amendment and embedded within our HR process and procedure, which help us to boost on the hybrid workforce model. As I remember, in April 2020, during the pandemic, we have to come back and go back to our process and procedure, especially in a hiring process. We look at what are the chances that to attract people to come and join HCT in the UAE, since our hiring was mainly from overseas employees. So what we have done, we reviewed our process, we reviewed our procedure, we saw all the compliance, we checked everything, and then we have decided, as per our high-level management, to start hiring our faculties from overseas while they are working there, and all the classes was online from A to Z. And this has give us a very huge experience and give us a lot of agility in our maybe some thoughts and some idea that we were thinking that might be happen over 4 or 5 years, and now it's happening. Also, it's give us a trust that we are able to do this, and give us even we evaluated our IT infrastructure where we are from that one. In the same aspect, we have also come up with a new idea in terms of the time and attendance system. At the end of the day, we need to record the productivity of our employee, the completion of our daily tasks, and also this platform give us a lot of even come up with idea of doing a reorganizing or reorganizing our function and giving the new idea of merging certain type of position rather than keeping them. It supports us in the restructuring our organization chart. Also, it gives us the key metrics of any employee, how is their attendance, how is their productivity, and it become very slim and very dynamic organization chart rather than flat organization chart. What was the outputs? The output that we implemented over this kind of mechanism in terms of the time and attendance, in terms of the quick learning aspect for our staff and employee, we noticed that our employee are very comfortable with the simplicity of the process and the trust that given through the organization and the delivery. In the same time, as I said, it's a combination of human and it's a combination of life balance and evaluating our IT infrastructure. Being in this large academic organization in the UAE, we were fully supported by advanced technology ecosystem. And really, I'm proud of being in this organization, winning different awards over the pandemic, such as Blackboard 2020 Global Catalyst Award of Training and Development during the pandemic time, and also Best Technology Educator Middle East 2020 Award, and last but not least, Best Higher Education Institution in E-Learning at Emirates Awards. Those three function within our IT department, or we can call them education technology, which are main function of knowledge management, digital technology, and intelligent learning system, supported us to revisit our e-library, to revisit our e-content and our e-service currently at HCT.
Thank you, Ms. Sarah. Thank you very much. I know you spoke about reevaluating the IT infrastructure. We also touched on reorganizing the functions and introducing new processes. My next question is to Rachel. Rachel, you come in from predominantly an IT-based organization, insurancemarket.ae. What are the new equipments or services that companies like yourself are providing for employees?
Okay, thank you for the question. Yes, as you mentioned, we're a very digitally focused organization. And I think like organizations, we had a good infrastructure. Certainly when we considered dealing with our customers, but like most organizations, had to look very closely at what we offer to our employees internally. I think that's a completely different proposition. And how smart were we working? And I actually see COVID in some way, if I may be bold, as a blessing, in that it's given us a huge opportunity to evaluate how people work. Because there has always been a misconception that you have to be in an office. You have to be using a company. You have to an employee or colleague to have working interaction. And I think that this new normal challenged all of those conventions and made us really think. So as cloud services, for example, we cloud services, but we look to expand on some of these suites of applications we already had. So we heavily utilize suite, so the Google applications for that. And we've certainly stepped up using Google Meet, which has now been rebranded as Chat. is just so embedded into usual. Creating environments, as speakers have alluded to so far, people asked to speak very, very regularly. You know, let's just get on a call, let's chat, and make that part of routine, rather than this is a new scary technology that people haven't used. Make it comfortable for people. Let's face it, comfortable in their home environment. The part they aren't comfortable with is that boundary, as Sarah's, between home and work, creating those spaces as right, I'm now in rather than a home mode. But having that comfort of working from home, get more from your employee. And you need to also be mindful of employees. So I majored in workplace psychology, having been a manager of teams throughout my career. And something that's always fascinated me is what makes people engaged, what makes people motivated, what makes people perform. People that have been crying out for you to have the exact setup we have now. So that's fantastic. You know, you get those people on board and you make those people your champions, and you get those people to help engage and influence and comfort and nurture those colleagues that feel with this new way of working. So aside from tangible service software, so where C4X, things like G Suite, as we, I look more at the holistic things in terms of services. Looked more at things like performance coaching, checking in with employees, welfare. Some services we've introduced, which other organisations I'm sure might have considered already in their HR policies, are things like employee assistance, manager assistance. So these are helplines that employees can call, monitored and moderated by an external panel of experts with psychological aspects like counselling, for example. So if anybody's got any concerns about how do they manage themselves at home, they're not getting that balance, that they're problems in their personal life, somebody. Okay. If they've got a problem with a family member had COVID, for example, and that's impacted their ability to focus at work, that then has a negative spiral on their performance and they're worried about that, they can get some assistance on that to help them. Because in these times as well, managers find it difficult to approach these subjects and know how to respond to employees. And we're human beings, you know, there's no blueprint, Jill, and we can get that hugely wrong.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. What I wanted to check is, I know we've covered the human aspects of remote workforce strategy. What I wanted to understand from, say, Shumon right now is from a leader's perspective, how have you made the processes more accessible? Like, how are you making your knowledge database more accessible to the entire organization? How are you reducing documentation and ambiguity in the process? Because over the past 1.5 days, when we've discussed remote workforce and remote workforce strategy, we've realized that a lot of documentation just to make people more accountable have been added. So what are leaders like yourself doing to reduce the documentation when it comes to a successful remote workforce strategy?
Yeah, so as Ms. Rachel highlighted, I mean, you need a combination of different strategies in this. There is no one rule that fits all. I think one of the things that we've done, we've now live and breathe Teams, Microsoft Teams. So we chat, we share, we see, and we have fun as well on it, you know. And the good thing about having those kind of technologies is very easy to share stuff. You know, you don't need to have a formal procedure and policy that to download a document. These things are already embedded in the way we work anyway, but to have that kind of tool to enable those kind of sharing and collaboration it's critical, you know, and what we've tried to do is keep things simple. There is no point overcomplicating things in this day and age, given what we're going through, you know, in our homes and with the pandemic and balancing everything. So, you know, I've been an advocate for, you know, let's work smarter, not just harder. And this was a BT advert in the UK, by the way, Rachel, you probably know that, right? You know, I'm an advocate of making sure that people get the tools they need to become more efficient. They shouldn't worry about what they need to use. It's basically, they should be more worried about, can they add value with the tools they use, right? And we need to make their lives as easy and as accessible for them to add value to the organization. We're very value driven. It is not about how much time, it's how much value, you know? So putting the tools, putting the strategy and coaching people continuously, it's important. I, as a leader, need to be coached, you know, so I have one-to-ones with my staff as well as my boss, you know, trying to get feedback in terms of, you know, what do you think of this, getting others' opinions. I think it's important. In this day and age, we have to be open to learning. We have to be open for flexibility and trust and, you know, work together. This isn't going to go away overnight, and we're going to have to make the most of it. So that's what we've been trying to do.
Thank you. Thank you, Shimon. I would like to redirect this question to Dr. Tanaya. Dr. Tanaya, how, as a CHRO, a global CHRO, do you, I like the statement that Shimon made, how do you make sure the employees add more value to the organization? So how, as a CHRO, are you making sure that employees add more value to the organization?
Look, I think it's, first let me tell you about more about the database and knowledge management, because that really is what is the crux of the moment at this point in time. So one is about, you know, we started using SharePoint, and a lot of data are there on the SharePoint and SharePoint platforms. What also became very, very apparent is knowledge management and sharing in the knowledge management platforms. During these times, also data analytics of us to be able to take decisions which are very, very essential. It could be a decision based on empathy. It could be a decision based on needs. So therefore, collecting all this through Tableau or data analytics to make predictive indices of what really can be the problem, and therefore what should be the solution that as an organization that we need to take. What we found is during these times, mental wellness was a big thing and focus. And these were primarily in three areas. It could be personal, it could be professional, or it could be financial. Because there were a lot of things which were changing. There were a lot of moving parts for the organization to, you know, sometimes to survive, where bottom lines, top lines were getting affected. So a lot of it was around mental wellness, ensuring that employees were cared for. We did simple things like we used the old time radio that you had, you know, so we used the radio where communication was across. I think communication was and remains very, very key at this point in time. Communication from top to bottom, bottom to top, sideways, because we need a lot of messaging in terms of what does the organization really want to do. Coaching was another big thing while for teams as they moved up to scale up, because you still had to meet a target. The top line still had to be, it's still organizations are going to be profitable. And that's what all of us are trying to drive. We did a lot of work on Yammer stream for social media and a lot of digital marketing. We use bots or Python bots, Shimon would know, to ensure that we use artificial intelligence to have messaging which were there. Also, this taught us to be very, very agile, the entrepreneurial spirit in us to be lean organization. We did a lot of hackathons to find out what really is the solution and how do we get buy-in through digital or design thinking. So we use that design thinking with storytelling for both our own internal people as well as for external people. And I think it's about agility at this point in time, because it is really a very, very complex and a world which is changing and changing very, very rapidly.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My next question is to Ms. Sarah. Ms. Sarah, are there any ways on allowing employees to implement their projects faster? Dr. Tanaya mentioned that what are they doing to make decision-making processes simpler? So what are the ways on allowing employees to implement their projects faster without having to wait on critical information whilst not compromising on security and ownership?
Talking about the projects, and I think from my own idea that the fundamental step is to stay on top of your work actually. And I could suggest the following: stay organized, defining project detail, the expectation from the team, and the achieved timeline is very important to success of any projects. Collaboration, effectively share, store, search for any document or information, obtain the approval and coordinate with the project's team is one of the most important to define and will help the collaboration on any projects while maintaining different access limitation among the group also is very important in terms of achieving the projects. Track the progress and the deliverable and the results. It's very important to manage and track the projects also. In the same time, as an HCT, there were a lot of adaptation happened for our projects, like as the panel member said that we are using different technologies such as the enterprise project management, EPM. It's very important for us to functional our projects and be on top of it. And in the same time, using another mechanism like the SharePoint, which is collect all HR collaboration to manage all our internal HR projects and documentation with the library, which will make us contributing toward one goal all the time.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Sarah. We are out of time. We still have a minute. I want to do a quick question from all the panelists. As per our discussion today, we got down to a couple of things that are very important for successful remote workforce strategy, like communication, coaching. If you could all give me top 3 things according to you, starting from, say, Mr. Shimon, what are the 3 things, according to you, are the most important traits of a successful workforce strategy? 3 things, please.
So yeah, communication, having the right tools, having analytics also is very, very important. You know, is people productive? Are they delivering value? You need a form of one way of benchmarking and checking that, right? So for me, those are the 3 things I would really have to have if I was going to go through another pandemic.
I
hope not.
Dr. Tanaya, would you be able to give us top 3 qualities, please?
Sure. I think having a clear strategy in terms of what we are planning to do, because there's a lot of confusion. 2 is teamwork, getting everybody right to the last person engaged and understanding what is to be done. And last is being completely agile and changing as per the needs.
Perfect. Rachel, your 3 things, please.
I would say communication, as Shimon said, culture, thinking sensitivities that your environment has, and compassion. I think understanding the needs that everybody has and the mindsets that everybody has. Don't underestimate the psychology.
Perfect. Ms. Sarah, 3 things that according to you are most important, please.
Well, the 3 things, and the most important is innovation, being always innovative in all your work aspects. The agility is very important, and life balance with the good kind of communication among it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time and being a part of the Remote Workforce Summit panel discussion. I'm sure all the delegates thoroughly enjoyed this. It was a very valuable session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mitsu.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye-bye.